Hello everybody, Steelfist Gaming here. Today I'm going to be talking about theories related to time travel, particularly in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Back to the Future, and how they would actually work in real life. Now, to explain the first time travel method, Back to the Future, there's one singular timeline, and you can travel back on that timeline and change the present, what was the present, in the future. So that means that, let's say you went back in time to stop your parents from ever meeting, you would not exist anymore, which is the plot of the first movie. Now, in Avengers Endgame, it's a lot different, which means that if you did go back in time and stop your parents from meeting, the timeline would split. You would continue to live your life like you normally did, but there would be another universe where you didn't exist, or another timeline where you didn't exist, if there is such a difference between the universe and a timeline. Now, you might be wondering, how can both of those simultaneously be correct? Well, let me explain it to you. The very difference is that Marty McFly was one person, and if he stopped existing, then the world at large, the universe at large, may not be all that different. However, in Avengers Endgame, what they do is they simultaneously displace the 7 or 6 most powerful objects in the universe at once. So they not only change the entire world, but change the entire universe. So my theory is there is a point at which you would split the timeline. Now, if you change small things, let's say you change the way that the Berenstain Bears is spelled, or you can change whether or not Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s, or whether or not he was released, or whether it's FROT loops or FRUIT loops. There's many different things that can change, but they're small enough to be written off as a flaw in the memory. Just like that one guy back in high school, he might just be a memory you made up in your head, like Marty McFly. So I think time is based on what people have already perceived, because that's really all that time is. Time is just memories. And if you change the entire universe's memories drastically, then that's the point where you'll start a split in the timeline. For example, let's think what would happen if Marty McFly didn't exist. That means that some guy in high school would stop existing. So that wouldn't really change the world, or it would be unlikely to, and it'd be almost impossible for it to change the universe. However, even if it could change the universe, it could only change it at the rate of the speed of light, because there could not be any effect. Well, let's say that somehow it did change the universe. Causality states that the speed of light is the ultimate limiter in the universe. So that means that, let's say Marty McFly travels back to the year 1955. Only from the year 1955 out, one light year for every year, there's a bubble around where Earth is and was, and that's the only place that can be affected by what Marty McFly did. However, in Avengers Endgame, Thanos has magical stones that don't have to obey causality. He snaps, well, that was Infinity War, but he snaps, and half of all life everywhere in the universe stops to exist at once. That would change everybody's memories, and that's something big enough to cause a split in the timeline. So in conclusion, whether you're a fan of Infinity War and Endgame, or Back to the Future time travel, you can both be right. It's just a matter of how big the time machine is. Well, that's all I got to say about that. If you'd like me to discuss another topic, go down to the comments, tell me all about it. Steelfist Gaming, signing out!